I want to welcome in the illustrious Grand Poobah Potentate of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Temple number 19, my brother, your brother, the brother of all brothers, Grand Governor Heru, Ranesi-El, Islam.
Yes. Islam, Moors.
Islam.
Praise Allah. I rise, giving all praises to Allah, the Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the balanced universe. Allah is the author, creator, governor of the worlds, the almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. All praises are due to Allah. Islam, Moors.
Islam.
We extend high honors to his holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a savior of humanity. Islam.
Islam.
We extend high honors as well to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations. Islam.
Islam.
We extend high honors as well to the Moorish flag, the red flag with the green 5-pointed star in the center. The 5 points representing love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These 5 points represent, these 5 principles represent the 5 highest principles known to man. Islam, Moors.
Islam.
We extend high honors as well to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder to remind you, the Moors, that the European owes you with compound interest. Islam.
Islam.
Giving high honors as well to the noble Sheik staff, noble Vanguard staff who keep the peace, and giving honors to you, the eels and babes, for without you, there is no Moorish movement. Islam.
Islam.
How's everyone on the holy night?
Islam.
Praise Allah. We extend high honors as well to our visitors who are here. Welcome. The doors of Temple number 19 in Atlanta are always open unto you, because these are not our doors, these are the doors of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam.
Islam.
Tonight, I would like to draw from chapter 31 of the Holy Quran and the Moorish Science Temple of America. And my reasoning from drawing from chapter 31 is because I was talking to a Moorish American about a couple days ago, and a very notable Moorish American. I reserve his name because he's quite known. But in talking to the brother, he said he had a falling out with one of his brothers, right? And one thing that we have to remember, as Moorish Americans, is that one of the key things that was removed from us when the brands of Negro, Black, Colored, and Ethiopian, and present-day African American were placed upon us, one key thing that was removed from us is conflict resolution, right? Because conflict resolution comes by way of your culture. Conflict resolution comes by way of your divine creed and your nationality. Islam, if you don't have a divine creed and nationality, what do you go to solve your problems? Where do you go to? The general opinions of men? Our prophet told us the generality of men are ignorant. And is that what you're going to draw your information from, Islam? All right? So the Prophet Noble Drew Ali gives us a standard by which it is to be Moorish, American. You have to put American with that Moorish. All right? He gives us a standard. And the standard for being Moorish American is indeed the Holy Quran and Moorish Science Temple of America. This constitutes our ethics. In government, when they talk about ethics violations, you've heard this, right? And ethics violations are based on the instrument that is called Constitution, U.S. Constitution. Islam?
Islam.
Well, our prophet, because this is a holy and divine movement, we have a divine Constitution and bylaws.
Right.
We have a holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam?
Islam.
So in that spirit, let's draw from the chapter of justice. What does justice mean? Don't give me the textbook answer. Just draw from yourself. What is justice?
Fairness.
Fairness, balance. And, our people scream that, we want nothing else but justice, right? But when you ask the average layman, do they really know what justice is? No. So let's see what our prophet gave us. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
Holy instruction from the prophet. Justice. The peace of society dependeth on justice. And real quick, that word society is a master's word. The happiness of individuals on the safe enjoyment of all their possessions. Keep the desires of thy heart, therefore, within the bounds of moderation. Let the hand of justice lead them aright. Cast not an evil eye on the goods of thy neighbor. Let whatever is his property be sacred from thy touch. Let no temptation allure thee, nor any provocation excite thee to lift up thy hand to the hazard of his life. See, if we mastered that one verse right there, the so-called Asiatic crime would stop. Brothers would stop putting bullets in each other's heads because of an Instagram post. Y'all know that's going on now, right?
Yeah.
You know, I caught an interview, it was a young brother, he's a rapper from Chicago, and he was talking about how, you know, a lot of the murders that's happening with young brothers in Chicago is from brothers seeing stuff on Instagram, getting upset and going to go kill their brother. Islam Moors? So Prophet gives us remedy for that. Let me read that again. It says, let no temptation allure thee, nor any provocation excite thee to lift up thy hand to the hazard of his life. That term, provocation. If your passions have been circumscribed, if you subdued your lower self, you know, placed it within a bound, so that, you know, none of the hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, or anything that harms goes outside that circle that you placed around yourself. When one's attempt to provoke you, you won't be agitated to respond, or as the Prophet would say, descend. Dare not descend to meanness. Islam? I myself just on Monday was slandered on the internet by one who claims to be a Sheik in the Moorish side of America. How do we measure Sheik though? Right? How do we measure Sheik? It's no different than member. It's this. Islam Moors? See, you have to live the life of Moorish American Muslim. If you're not living the life, you can't truly claim the name. Islam Moors? Verse 5, very important verse. Defame him not in his character. Bear no false witness against him. According to the great Quran of Muhammad, the Quran of Mecca. How many witnesses do you need to bring charges against someone? Anybody know?
One,
If it's a male, how many?
male.
2. If it's a female, how many? 4. Islam? See, you can't just trump up charges on someone in Islam.
That's right.
You know, you have to have witnesses. Islam? When you go to bear testimony or to bear witness in a court to this day, right? You get up there and, you know, they administer oath. We don't do oaths. But it's funny when you get in that oath, the witness box. They make you go like this, don't they? Islam? Because you're bearing witness. Islam? All right? But let's go forward. Defame him not in his character, bear no false witness against him. Corrupt not his servant to cheat or forsake him, and the wife of his bosom, O tempt not to sin. It will be a grief to his heart, which thou canst not relieve, an injury to his life, which no reparation can atone. Islam? That connects with another verse, because you know you have to marry the prophet's scriptures. You know, you can't pluck verses. You know, you hear Moorish Americans do that, be cautious of that. You know, because each verse, you know, goes like the Old Testament, the Bible said precept upon precept. Islam? But the other verse that connects with is when it says that, you know, suspect evil of no one. Islam? You know, it's until thou seest it, but when thou seest it, never forget it. Islam? All right? But you know, the key is you need that evidence. Verse 8, in thy dealings with men, be impartial and just, and do unto them as thou wouldst they should do unto thee. It's called the golden rule, right? It says, be faithful to thy trust, and deceive not the man who relieth upon thee. And be assured, it is less evil in the sight of Allah to steal than betray. So to a Moorish American Muslim, betrayal is one of the worst crimes. Anyone ever been betrayed before? You ever put your absolute and trust in someone and they failed you? Been through that? How did it feel? You'd rather somebody steal your car than go through that. You can replace your car, but that feeling of betrayal is hard to shake. Islam? One thing I tell Moors, our prophet Noble Ali, he left his footprints clearly cut for every span of ground. If you look at the 1928 convention picture, right? Prophet standing there, he's on his square, he's being his holy self, holy divine self. 2 people over from him, to his left, there's a brother named Lomax Bey. Lomax Bey was the Grand Governor of Temple No. 4 in Detroit, Michigan. Islam? Lomax Bey was one of the ones that helped to try to usurp or to overthrow the prophet. Islam? Now, in that picture, there is only one other person wearing the sash that you see the prophet wearing. Islam? Who was that person? Lomax Bey. Right? Now, if you take that picture, you crop the prophet's face, you blow it up, look at the expression on his face. He knew he was surrounded by his enemies. He knew it. Islam? Jesus of 2,000 years ago when he was at the Last Supper. You think he couldn't have told James and John to stop Judas from doing what he had to do, what he was about to do? You think he didn't know who Judas was and what he was about to do? You think he didn't know the covenant and the pact that he had with the Romans? Right? Islam? A master always knows who's around him. Islam? Why? Because a master has degrees that he works from. He's not coming out of just what he feels.
That's right, man.
True masters and prophets especially, right? They don't come out of their own inklings or their own degree of understanding, right? They come from holy inspiration from Allah that is predicated upon previous laws of prophets before them. Islam? So Prophet Noble Drew Ali had a wealth of wisdom to draw from. We called him Professor Drew, the Egyptian adept student. Islam? Most Moors, when they quote that, they don't say Professor Drew, the Egyptian adept. But that's not what it said on the card. It said it's an Egyptian adept student. Why? Because as an adept, as a skillful master, you're always a student. You never get to the point where you've arrived and you know it all. You have to empty your cup in order to gain. Islam? Be probably some masters in this room right now, right? All I suggest is that you empty your cup a little. Don't forget what you know. We're not saying that. But give the Prophet Noble Drew Ali a chance. You know, empty your cup a little. Consider the fact that Negro, black, colored, and African American may not be true. Islam? Consider the fact that a prophet came to you bringing a flag, a nationality, your name, your birthright to the land, and all of that, but you don't know him. You weren't taught him. February comes around, what are they teaching our babies? Black History Month. Who are they teaching our babies? Who are they learning about? Call them by their names. Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? But we don't know Noble Drew Ali. Now, did any one of them ones that you just named bring a flag? Did any one of the ones that you just named bring your name? Or did they come in someone else's name? Someone else's name. You think the name King belongs to Asiatic people? No. Douglas, does that belong to our people? Come on, talk back to me now. No. I'm not a preacher. I'm just letting you know that I want answers back. We in this thing together. Islam? All right? But those names didn't belong to us, and those are our forefathers and our foremothers. And they fought from the tools they had to work with, and we honor them. Right? But we also honor the ones that brought the remedy. Because you can't mention Prophet Noble Drew Ali without mentioning the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. You have to mention them together. Islam? All right? Moving forward. It says, verse 10, oppress not the poor, and defraud not of his hire the laboring man. When thou sellest for gain, hear the whispering of conscience, and be satisfied with moderation, nor from the ignorance of the buyer take any advantage. Are Moorish American Muslims capitalists? By that statement.
No.
How is capitalism defined?
Everything for capital gain, right?
Exactly. What's the bottom line of any corporation? making a what? Making a profit.
Profit, yeah.
Islam? Now, when you uplift and fall in humanity, do you do that to gain a profit?
No.
What's the true profit that you gain from uplift and fall in humanity? Uplift and fall in humanity.
Favor with Allah.
Islam? You know? And this is, you know, these small verses are some of the definitions of Islamism. When people ask you what Islamism is and how is it practiced, right? Because it's something that you must promote and practice. You can't just espouse it with your mouth and not do anything. Islam wars? So you all had it made and, you know, all easy. You kick back, put your feet up in Christianity. Respect due to Christianity, right? They say you can do whatever you want as long as you what? Repent. Y'all heard that before?
Okay.
Right? Where's the action? Where's the, you know, in that mind state, where's the thing that binds you to action? How many of us know people, if we didn't do it ourselves, go to the club all night on Saturday night? Right? Get in about 4 or 5 in the morning, sleep, oh, I gotta get up for church. Y'all all right? It's just me? I see some giggles. Y'all, if it's you, then don't say nothing. You know, the Constitution says you can't be held as a witness against yourself. All right? But the point is that, and again, I'm not condemning. This is not, But the point is, Prophet Noble Ali is bringing us to a higher standard. Right? There's certain words that if you don't use them, that means that concept doesn't exist in your reality. When was the last time you heard the word standard? The past 7 days. Think about all the people you spoke with. Right? Did the word standard come out once?
Yes.
Okay, you got a good circle.
Yeah.
Was you talking to Moors? Oh, praise Allah, you got a good circle. You might want to get them in the temple, we need them. All right?
Yeah.
How about the word honor?
Well, gospel.
Integrity, just food for thought. Integrity.
Integrity, yeah.
Islam. All right? These are concepts that if you're not mentioning them, it doesn't exist in your reality, in your dealings with people. Now, if that doesn't exist in your dealings with people, how are you going to build anything? You're going to build some businesses with somebody that doesn't use the word honor. Does that make sense to you? Islam? Knew a brother who was married to a Korean sister. They wanted to, as a couple, they wanted to open a beauty supply store, right? To initially get started, according to their business plan or whatever, they said they needed $60,000. They didn't have $60,000. Their credit wasn't to the point where they could go to a bank and get $60,000. But because she was Korean, she was connected to the Korean community, and she knew who to go to. So she went to the right people in the Korean community, right? Told them, what she needed, showed them the business plan. Said, bring your husband, we'd like to meet him, right? Brought him, and they heard the whole thing out. They said, okay, well, if we should, loan you this $60,000, when you give your word that you'll pay it back on the date that you say that you'll pay it back. He said, yes, absolutely. Stuck his hand out, pressed his hand, briefcase comes out, $60,000. Now, who's moving like that in our communities? There was a time when we did move like that. And we didn't even know we were Moors then. I'm talking about as Asiatics. I was born in 1972, right? Pre-crack era. I saw brothers moving in honor. Islam? Because that's just who we were. Contrary to popular belief, you're not that far away from your forefathers. Right? Because there's some of us in this room right now that remember fathers in the home, whole families. Before, the serious drug. Yeah, back in the 70s it was heroin and all that. Yeah, we had that, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like when crack hit and changed the whole dynamic of things. Islam? All right? So but there's some of us that don't only remember from 85 and 88 on. Right? So they don't really know what honor is. That has to be taught to that generation because they missed that lesson. They don't have anything to tie that to. There's no template in their brain for that. Islam? That's what these lessons are for. Go to verse 12. Pay the debts which thou owest, for he who gave thee credit relieth upon thine honor, and to withhold from him his due is both mean and unjust. Right? Again, if we would have mastered that verse right there, everyone in here right now have AAA credit rating. Islam? We didn't grow up with them degrees. I know a young lady right now, right, who was 18 years old, whose credit is destroyed because when she was young, her mother used her Social Security number. Her options are jacked up from 18, so she's going into life in debt because her mother didn't have the degrees of not to do something like that. That's the condition of Negro, Black, colored, and African American. Slavery condition. Things that delude to slavery. Right? And if you think these lessons don't pertain to 2017, right? Look at the condition of our people. And see if we still ain't acting like we're on a plantation. Islam Moors? Verse 13, last verse in the chapter. Finally, O son of society. So we open the verse in chapter 1, in verse 1 with society, and 13 he ends it in society. Finally, O son of society, examine thy heart, call remembrance to thy aid, and if in any of these things thou hast transgressed, make a speedy reparation to the utmost of thy power. So it's possible that you could have injured your brother or your sister, right? And if you have, and you don't feel like you have, but you talk to them and they're hurt, what does it say? Make a speedy reparation. Not whenever you feel like it. It's a speedy reparation to the utmost of thy power. So if you've injured a person to the degree where, they feel betrayed, right? And they're not able to grow from it, you make a speedy reparation to the best of your ability, to the utmost of your power. Islam? Your steps in doing that is what will cause Allah to forgive you, and the rest is on the other person to let go. Islam? All right? Next, I'd like to go to chapter 40, the divine origin. Because we want to see exactly, when we talk about Moorish American, we want to see, Moorish is your national descent name, right? So we want to see, who is connected to the Moorish, right? And again, it says the divine origin, not just the origin. The divine origin of the Asiatic nations. Verse 1. The fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know of their higher self and their lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. Islam was? Verse 2. The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations. Right? The Asiatic nations, multiple Asiatic nations, right? But then he comes back and it becomes specific. It says the Moorish, now he's talking about you specifically, yeah. The Moorish, who are the ancient Moabites, and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. So get that thing out your head that the Arabs, really there's no such thing, but the Arabs control Mecca. They started Mecca. Your forefathers were the ones that started that city, right? If your forefathers were the original holy people, you built multiple holy cities. The holy city is wherever the holy people are. Islam? Verse 3. The Egyptians, who were the Hamathites, and of a direct descendant of Mizraim. The Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese, and Chinese. Now that Mizraim right there, if you go, do you know the country we call Egypt? If you go there today, the people that reside there don't call the country by that name. If you go there and well, I'm in Egypt, they're like, oh, you're from America. Oh, we don't use that word. Well, what do you call the country? Misri. Misri. That Misr is the Arabic rendition of the term Mizraim, right? People of the two rivers, Blue and White Niles, that come through there, right? Verse 4, the Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites from the land of Canaan. The Asiatic nations and countries in North, South, and Central America. The Moorish Americans and Mexicans in North America. Brazilians, Argentinians, Chileans in South America. Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador in Central America, etc. All of these are Muslims. Verse 7, the Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad I, the founder of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great and universal God, Allah. Islam was? Surely Allah speaks the truth to his holy divine prophet, Drew Ali. Islam? Now, Noble Drew Ali was one of the first leaders, the first leader, in the time that he was in the manifest, right? To teach you about your connection to your relatives in North, Central, and South America. Period. Everybody else was looking across the Atlantic. Okay? Now, the Olmec statue heads that they found, that was subsequent to Noble Drew Ali. They found those later, right? That's when they're clearing stuff in the areas in the jungle and come across this, your face in the middle of the jungle, right? But Noble Drew Ali had already said that before they found the statue. Now, how'd that happen, right? Did you know that they didn't let Asiatic people in libraries back in those days? This is the 20s. You know that, right? Now, example I always use, anybody heard of J.A. Rogers? Nature Knows No Color Line, 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro, World's Greatest Men of Color, so on and so forth. Our brother, J.A. Rogers, was a very light olive complected Asiatic. Meaning he looking at it, he could almost pass for European, right? They didn't let him in libraries. He had to pay people, he had to write down a list of things he wanted, and he would pay Europeans to go in and get the books he needed to bring out. Okay? Now, how did Noble Drew Ali, now you've seen his complexion, how was Noble Drew Ali able to get the information that he got to bring to you? How did he get it? See, we say he was divinely prepared by the great universal God Allah, right? And there's some out, in the Asiatic realm that will say that that's spookism. Okay, then prove how he did it. Islam? Anyone amongst you ever experienced this? You ever think a thought and it comes to you? It's the craziest thought in the world, but you say it, you tell it to somebody. And then through research later on, it comes into the manifest, you see it later. But at the time that you said it, you had no evidence for it. Anybody experience that? Right? Where do you think that thought comes from? Do you think it's just you? You think you're that smart? Anyone? Or is there something higher than yourself? Your higher self. Islam? All right? Show me a time throughout history. I know I have some historians in the room. Show me a time in history where our people were ever a secular people, totally. Where we didn't acknowledge some higher existence of higher class thought, higher class being. We have Elohim in Hebrew, Neteru in the Egyptian language called Medu Neter. You have Kachina amongst the Native Americans. You have Anunnaki and Sumer. You have all these higher class, godly-like beings. And then no matter what language you go to and what Asiatic culture you go to, it exists. Right? And contrary to popular belief, the God that was dealing in Genesis was you. Y'all know that, right? The Adam that was created wasn't you. You were on the planet before that. Did you know that? Y'all all right?
Islam.
Y'all look mad at me. Y'all like, stone him. That's how y'all look. That's how they looked at Jesus 2,000 years ago. Praise Allah, I'm in good company. Right? But you were those ancient gods, but you fell. That's all right. Right? Because there's a scripture that says, the first should be last and the last should be first. Or vice versa. Islam? So your time is coming back again. You know that because you were sent the prophet. Before you were sent the prophet, wasn't nobody thinking about you. Period. Right? And if you study the Moorish empire of our forefathers towards the end, right? And look how we ruled, tongue twister. We ruled by way of an iron fist. Period. Absolute power. Right? What was the title given to our ruler in Morocco?
Sultan.
What type of government, what mode of government does a sultan rule under?
Absolute monarchy.
Absolute monarchy. Thank you for being specific. Not just a monarchy, absolute. What is the absolute monarchy? That means that what? When the sultan says something, that's it. Basically a dictatorship. All right? It's not a bad thing if you got a good sultan. Right? If you don't have a good sultan, what's the only way you get him out of it? Don't say it. It's the holy name. Right? And many times when you're in the rule of your forefathers, that's how you had to get tyrant-type sultans out of there. Right? Why your forefathers played around with the concept of a republic. Power being in the hands of the people. Right? And this is not something that the Europeans started. Okay? You research, I got you one. You research the concept of a republic. The concept of republics, started, right, amongst those in this land known as the Iroquois Confederation. And you talk about, and you study the research the Iroquois Confederation, it was a 6 nations, not tribes, 6 nations confederation on this soil, right? Where they came together and formulated the concept of we the people. Okay? Where the power was vested in the hands of a people. And you had an elected representative that demonstrated on behalf of the people. And if he violated, and went against the will of the people got together and ousted him. Islam? All these ones you know as Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and so on and so forth, all these ones were students of these Moors of this Iroquois Confederacy. Islam? But see, we don't know that because you're not taught that in school. Right? You can't be taught that in school because if you're taught that in school, it'll upset the power base. Right? And every free national group that comes here and is demonstrating some form of power has a group just like the Moorish Science Temple of America, but for their pedigree, to teach their people how to live under a republic. Right? So it was no strange happening what Noble Drew Ali created for you. Right? It was a new era time. This had to be created. If not, you would not have known how to live under that. Most of our people, when they see that, have nothing but disdain and hate. Prophet tells you to learn to love instead of hate, right? But if you know what that flag represents, notice all the free national groups. I'll give an example. The Japanese, back in the 40s, was set up in internment camps and concentration camps in this country when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. Islam, after that period of time, they joined the U.S. military. They did everything they could to become full-fledged citizens of the United States of America under that flag. But they worked their citizenship to empower their pedigree. Does it make sense? Right? And every group that you go to is demonstrating that. Okay? Anybody tell you to wrap yourself in a flag, right? Without remembering your national descent or your foremothers and your forefathers. No, in fact, we tell you to honor your forefathers and foremothers that your days will be longer upon the earth land that the great God Allah has given thee. That's law. That's Moorish law, right? But at the same time, these two flags work hand in hand, right? It said at the convention there was a point where the prophet, he took a little young girl and he brought her before the members and draped her in a Moorish flag, this flag here. He brought a little young brother out and draped him in the American flag and presented it to the people, right? This is representative of our nation. Islam, all right? Because another aspect to that is the fact that you are not completely Moorish because your experience here in America has changed you. Islam? Example. Many of us like to wrap ourselves around the comfort of feeling like we're African, or descendants of African, right? But the brothers and sisters that we call African all have specific nationalities, correct? All right? And, like example, in our misconception of what Africa is, we say, well, I like to wear an African dress code, an African style of dress. You know there's no such thing. What's the African style of dress? Anybody tell me? What's the African food? No, not an African. What's the African food? Does it exist? No. Because when you go, the food in Senegal is not the food in Egypt. The food in Egypt is not the food in Ethiopia, or Abyssinia, whatever makes you feel it. Right? The clothing in South Africa is not the clothing in Botswana. Islam? All right? Each one of them have a nationality. Each one of them has a constitution. Each one of them has a culture separate and distinct from the next. Right? When they come here, because they know you don't know about nationality, yeah, they might say, yeah, I'm African. Because they're dumbing down the conversation. Right? But if you truly knew, right, who you were, you could meet them on a level. Because you could say, I'm Moorish American. I'm a descendant of Moroccans born in America. And the conversation, then they start reading you, I'm Senegalese. Now we can talk as equals, right? But if you're talking about you black, right? His culture's been unbroken, yeah, they got colonized, but he knows who he is. Like he can trace his line back, right? Prophet Noble Drew says that masterminds trace themselves back and thus they know, right? So what are you tracing yourselves back to? Slaves? During Black History Month, you trace yourselves back to the era starting at the Civil War, the close of the Civil War, to now, right? Nothing before that. Even if they're generous, they take you back to what, 1610, 1609. They say 1609, the first African slave, the first 20 African slaves arrived in America. True? Do y'all know the timeline why they say 1609? Right? Because 1609, 1610, 1 year after that, was when all the Moors that were still in Spain after we had gotten defeated were cast out. Y'all know what I'm talking about? What's the date? 711 AD. Right? The Moors conquer the Iberian Peninsula because there was no such thing. All these countries that you know now, Spain, France, Germany, Italy, these countries did not exist by name, right? The landmass was there, but they were all barbaric tribes. They didn't learn the concept of nation state until after you got overthrown. What's the oldest university in the world? Anybody know? Is it Oxford? Is it Harvard? What's the oldest university in the world? Cambridge? No, it's the University of Qarawiyyin, known as the University of... Where is it located? Morocco.
In Morocco.
What's the second oldest university in the world?
Andalus.
The University of Al-Azhar. The word Al-Azhar means illuminated. Oh, don't mess with Jay-Z, he's in the Illuminati. Booga, 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 booga. Right? But the term Illuminati, or illuminated ones, or alumni, when you graduate from college, or high school, or whatever, you become an alumnus, right? It just comes from illuminated because it goes back to this oldest university, the second oldest university, which is Al-Azhar, which is in Egypt, or Misr. Right? So the two oldest universities on the planet, right, are in Morocco and in Egypt. If that's not a sign for you. So your forefathers went around the earth leaving landmarks because they knew we were in a constant state of slowing down and vibration. and falling away from who we were. So them being the masters that they were, went around and left masterful hieroglyphics, pyramids, statues, everything. They were digging in Mali and found 1 million books under the ground in Mali on everything: mathematics, astronomy, astrology, geology, cartography, map making, zoology, animals, everything that you can name, every science that you could possibly study in a university today. They found 1 million books just in Mali, right? Because what do people say, from here to Timbuktu? You have that phrase in English today, right? Where's Timbuktu? Mali, right? Because Mali, what was the #1 export in Mali? Right? Was it gold? Was it silver? Was it silk? No, it was books. People came from around the world to go to Mali, to Timbuktu, to get literature from the Moors who were in Timbuktu. Islam? So now, you got 711 AD, so you have General Tariq, or what we call General Tariq, who led a detachment of 7,000 Moors from North Africa, Northwest Africa, Morocco, to come across, at that time, what was known as the Straits of Hercules. Okay? Now it's called the Straits of Gibraltar. The word Gibraltar is 2 words. Jabal Tariq, which means the mountain of Tariq. So that mountain is like a little mountain that exists between Morocco and Spain. And they named it after one of your forefathers. It's still named after him to this day, Gibraltar, right? And keep in mind the closeness, because basically we're talking about Spain is really North Africa, because the distance between Morocco and Spain is only 8 miles. If you're strong enough, you could swim there. Islam? But he brought 7,000 Moors across into the Iberian Peninsula to run out these that was the name of the people that inhabited. They weren't Spanish yet. They were Goths. We have Goth, Visigoths, Ostrogoths, Vandals, and they have the word today, vandalize, right? So vandalism is destructive. That was their name. So what does that tell you about them, right? Vandals, so on and so forth. These were some of, the Franks. Okay? All these were barbaric tribes who knew nothing about government. Period. They didn't know nothing. They learned that from your forefathers. Do you know these people had never seen a globe? Right? They thought the earth was what? Flat. They've even brought that back and got people arguing on YouTube about that now. They call it flat earth theory. Right? Why? Because we're back in the dark ages again. Why? Because y'all still sleep. Y'all don't want to wake up and take control of the rulership of the planet and guide people to an uplifted state. Okay? 7-Eleven, all right? So, they gained control. We had various different dynasties that came through. You had the Umayyads, the Abbasids, the Almoravids, Almohads, so on and so forth. By the time you get after them, because these were all dynasties, successive families. So after, you might have like so many generations of this particular dynasty right here, and they might get overthrown by these guys here. And then they've ruled for a while, these got overthrown. But all of these are Muslims. All of these were of the Asiatic nations, right? So what you had is you had some who were Moors, right? You had some from the nation of Arabia came through, right? And we were intermarrying and so on and so forth, right? So when you look at history, you read the historical documents, they refer to all of them as Moors, right? Whether they had Arab extraction, so on and so forth. Example, some of you right in here right now might have Caribbean blood. Sister Yaya, if you don't mind. Guyana, correct? Now, if I didn't point her out as being of Guyanese descent, you wouldn't know. You'd thought she was born in Grady, which is the hospital, by the way. Right? All right? But this is the games we play. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, we don't mess with the Arabs like that. I've been to Arabia. They look like y'all. Let's get that straight. I mean, Hajj in 92. I walked around Arabia for 23 days. And looking, I'm like, yo, and if I didn't speak, they thought I was from there. Then I say something, like, oh, you're from America. Nah, yes. You see what I'm saying? So that's the point. So don't let them play that game on you. Right? Prophet, it is attributed to the Prophet Ali, right? That he said, store 90 days of food until your brothers from the east come to assist. I'm paraphrasing, right? So, but the point is, if that statement is true, then that means that the Prophet was linking you up to the fact that you had family overseas, right? And when they come, it's going to surprise you that they look just like you, right? Anyone ever heard of these people before? That's an N. The Ceylon Moors? C-E-Y-L-O-N? Anybody ever heard of this country here? Sri Lanka?
Yeah.
India? Okay? Well, there's a group of people that live in Sri Lanka to this day right now. They call themselves Moors right now. Right? And when you go to that region of the world, they look like you. Texture of their hair might be a little different. Maybe. Because we come different ways like that too. Some of us got wavy hair, some of us got woolly hair. Same family. Don't let your Willie Lynch act up. And she got good hair and he got bad. I ain't gonna talk to him because, you know what I'm saying? They do that overseas too, That ain't just a so-called American Negro slave problem. They do that in India as well. Wow. It's called this. The Brahmin caste system. That's the oldest point where you're gonna find people playing the color game. Right? And then when the British came in there in the 1600s, I believe it is, they said, oh, they have problems between each other about hue. And they took that and they, separate and divide and conquer us based on things that already existed. See, if you're unified, an outsider can't come and conquer. Right? Because if you have one mind, you can't be conquered. Right? But if there's that one or that small faction of you that's dissatisfied, you can come in and exploit that. Right? And what they do is they exploit it, back them against the stronger side, overthrow them. And then what you think they're going to do against the ones that they used? Get rid of them next, because how can you trust them? Betrayal, right? Islam. So anyway, back to the timeline. So, successive dynasties, so on and so forth. So now, the Moors didn't start losing wars to Europeans until around this year. (1099). A place called Toledo. Got a place called Toledo in, I think, Ohio, right? It's a city in Ohio. Right, and matter of fact, in your tax forms, don't they have a 1099 form?
Is that what I'm thinking?
Oh, okay, just checking. Just checking. But they don't know, right? Yeah, okay. All right? So you started losing wars at this point. Why did you start losing wars at this point? Right? Because you forgot the first aspect of your divine creed, which was there is no God but Allah. Islam? Because when the Moors began to fall in love with material comfort and luxury, right? And started selling their brothers out, having their brothers assassinated, and so on and so on, and forgot away from the creed of their forefathers, right? Universal law turns against you at that point, right? Now you gotta pay. See, universal law works irrespective of person or station. It don't matter that you're the great and mighty Moors, you can fall too. Matter of fact, we're gonna make you fall in a way that no one in humanity has ever fell before, right? Chattel slavery didn't exist until it happened to us. You know that? Slavery existed, servitude existed. We know because we did it, right? How many people know of our visitors? Well, I know there's a couple bastards in here, so this ain't for y'all. But how many people, ones of us know that you enslaved the European first before he enslaved you? Know that? Okay. Raphael, could you give me the book over there, Slave Community? Second shelf on the left-hand side at the bottom. Right, see Special Forces right over there. Back to them. So it's the book, The Slave Community. Okay. Chapter 2, John Blasting Game. Chapter 2 is called The Americanization of the Slave and the Africanization of the South. Okay? I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs. Okay? From the 8th to the 19th century, hundreds of thousands of Europeans were enslaved by Arabs, Turks, and West Africans. Okay? European servitude to the Muslims began when the Arabs from North Africa, why doesn't that sound right? The Arabs are not from North Africa. See the word again? Okay. Just trying to get you thinking while you read it. From North Africa launched their campaign to conquer the Iberian Peninsula in 711. After the expulsion of the Arabs from the Iberian Peninsula in the 15th century, Muslims frequently raided the coast. And this is where we were doing hit and run raids, okay? Spain, think about this now. And this is in 711. Spain, 15th century, so that's 1400. Spain, Portugal, Italy, Greece, France, England, Ireland, and Iceland, all the way at the top bottom, okay? Way up north, right? And Iceland, and the islands of Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, and Cyprus, all of those are in the Mediterranean, right? Sacked their towns and carried their inhabitants back to North Africa, where they were enslaved because they were infidels. Most of the white slaves were Spaniards, Portuguese, and Italians captured during the centuries-long religious wars waged by the Muslims and the Christians in all the lands bordering on the Mediterranean Sea. Thousands more Europeans and Americans shipwrecked on the North and West African coasts or captured by Arab privateers at sea were also enslaved. Estimates of the number of whites enslaved range between 500,000 and 1 million. Why weren't you told that? Right? Now, if you study that, because that chapter goes into the whole thing of how the Moors treated the ones that they took enslaved, right? Like example, y'all familiar with the Jim Crow laws? Y'all heard that, right? So in Jim Crow, you have stuff like the Asiatic be walking down the sidewalk, and European walk up, you have to step off the sidewalk and let him pass, and then you can go Islam. Even if it was a child, 8 years old, you have to take off your hat. How you doing, sir? All that type of stuff. That was stuff your forefathers did to the European at the end of our empire. Islam? See, we don't like to hear that because that makes you the original slavery. See, we like to believe that we was in Africa on some Lion King, frolicking in the grass with butterflies and I don't know the song. I wish I knew the song. That would be perfect.
Oh no. Lion King.
Right, Simba and all that type of stuff. You Simba Bay running around, right? Simba-Il, right? But the point is, it wasn't like that. You were wilding in Africa. You was wilding in America, right? Sorry to use my Jersey stuff coming out, but you weren't living the best at the end of the empire. Why when it collapsed, it had to happen to you on another level. So what do you do with in the Quran of Mecca? It says that you were created to be, the term they use in Arabic is Khalifa fil Ard, which means Allah's successor in the earth. As the Moor just demonstrated, you are a direct descendant of the Father of the universe. That's who you are. That's what's in your blood. That's why you ever thought, why haven't you all been destroyed yet? Crack, AIDS, the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, Percocet and Molly's, all this stuff that we're on now. Yeah, a few of us might die. You ain't gonna kill all of us, unless it's the will of Allah. Islam? So the point is that what happens when the successor of Allah in the earth decides to shirk his duty? So what do you do to him and her? Now you're talking about the mother of humanity and the father of civilization. They wild. The mother don't want to be, I'll put it on the brothers, because I'm a brother. I can't speak for the sisters. Moors, at the end of the empire, was the biggest deadbeat dads on earth. Look at all the people that you went around the planet and creating, right? You look at India, you look at their features, so on and so forth, all they are is different mixed phenotypes of you. They're different versions of you, that's it. You go through the Americas, they're different versions of you. You go in the islands of the Pacific, you go to a remote island, I don't care where it is. You get off the boat, it's gonna be some brothers come out with some afro. Right? There's a small island called Papua New Guinea that's in the Pacific. Right? When the Europeans first got there, it blew their mind. They almost went insane when they got off the boats and brothers came out the woods. Right? He got a loincloth on, no shoes, no shirt, but it's a brother with an afro. Natural like the sister right here. They're like, how did you get here? This is our planet. We've always been here. Where did you come from? Islam? All right? But the point is that the chattel slavery thing, everything that happened to you, put you in a position to forget all the things that you had done in the past. Right? If I was to ask you right now, give me some history that was going on in 1490. Could you run it down? And Allah is saying you don't need to know that. You don't need access to those thoughts. right? Because if you have access to those thoughts, and I bear witness, right, that some of the ones that we put nationality cards in their hand when they first proclaim their nationality, you got to really work with them, right? Because the first thing they want their birthright back today. Ain't no waiting, ain't no working towards it. I don't know if y'all remember Sanford and Son, but they had the episode. I want my daddy's record, the Blind Mellow Jelly. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. There's a few old heads in the room, we remember, right? But they want their daddy's records back right now, right? But it's a way you go back and get everything back, right? The Prophet Noble Drew wasn't a militant at all. He said, if you go to those who know, go to City Hall to those who know law, right? And ask them under an intelligent tone if my principles are right, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. He didn't say go down there with your fatigues on and you gonna give me my wrong spirit. They got something for that, actually. Like the Moors said, you ain't got no tank shit. Right? But the point is, you gotta be strategic. See, nation building is strategic. Politics is strategic. You have to have a worldview to deal in politics. Islam? Yeah, the guy, we might get behind him back. He might not be 100% for you because he had, in other words, right now in Atlanta, there's a mayoral race coming up in November, right? So there are various different candidates, right? The candidates that are running, whoever becomes mayor is the mayor of the city of Atlanta. So he has various constituents that he has to make sure but the only constituents he's really gonna look out for is the ones that help to get him in office. That's the name of the game. And if you're not dealing in those realms, you best believe in Noble Drew Ali's time when he was moving, they knew Noble Drew Ali. He was getting invitations to inaugurations. When the governor became governor of Illinois. Dear Holy Prophet, they write, would you please come to the inauguration? And he's coming. Well, anybody's at least getting invited to come to inaugurations and so on and so forth. And if they did, under Negro, Black, and Colored, can you really trust them? Can you trust respectfully? Because we don't want to get radical against other organized groups, right? But can you really trust the Black Caucus? If you know anything about it, if you don't, research it. Can you really trust the Black Caucus to represent your interests? Especially you as Moorish Americans, if you don't identify yourself as Black, right? And most of them are 33rd degree Masons, respectfully, right? Prince Hall is, Knights Templar is. They have oaths to orders, right? Prophet Noble Drew Ali arranged orders for us, but not through that. Key 55 and the 101s will tell you that. Islam, there are certain chambers that exist that we deal with certain things there.
That's right.
Islam, where things are silent, secret, and sacred. But at the same time, right, you got to learn how to move. You work your way up in government. You work your way up in your organizations, right? You have to learn how to fund your own movements. You can't talk about you want to be free, but you're going to go get a grant. Because you go get a grant, what are they going to do? They're going to constrain. That's what the Moors talking about. They're going to constrain what you're trying to do. Because he who holds the purse controls the movement and directs it. Prophet said, make sure you direct the course to virtue. How you going to direct the course to virtue if somebody else got their hand and putting the money in your pocket? Can't do it. Islam? Anybody else that ever run a business? You got partners, right? Mm-hmm. Can you make unilateral decisions if you got partners, business partners? No, you got to sit down and have meetings. Islam? All right? You can't, and if you do go make a unilateral decision, it's going to be a problem. Well, you did that without us. We need to sit down and talk about it. We don't recognize that.
Unless you got majority rule.
Unless you got majority rule. If it's set up that way, according to Robert's rules. That's all different. Depends on how you set it up. All right? But the point is, Moors, we got to get more mature in our thought process of how we approach everything. Right? And we approach everything, when we were Negroes, Blacks, and Colors, and African Americans, we approach everything from emotion. How we felt. They beat somebody on TV, we get upset. We march, we burn cities up, we light candles, we hold hands and sing Kumbaya, right? But no real action takes place. You know why? Because you're doing everything after the fact, right? Because you're not on the legislation side, right? Act 1, the Moorish Scientific America says the Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Scientific America is empowered to make law and enforce laws. We recite that every meeting, and the reason why the prophets get you to the point to try to raise your thoughts to a high, to infinite wisdom, to realize you're supposed to be making and enforcing law. And if you're not making and enforcing law, you're going to get enforced upon. Right? Because you can only make and enforce law when you got power. Right? The prophet tells you, he who is arrogant without power will be servile while there's no subjection. Right now, ain't nobody got their foot on your neck right now. Right? Somewhere in America, does somebody probably have a foot on their neck? Yeah, probably. Right? But I'm saying right now you can go So you leave this building, go to your car pretty much unmolested, right? You have some power to do some things, right? But if you took that and combined that power, increase the beacon light of hope, right? By linking with your brothers and sisters, right? And functioning as one, get one pot of finance going, right? Because you got to put your dollars together. Islam, I gave you an example. Here in Atlanta, there's a section called Buford Highway, right? Buford Highway runs through pretty much like Dunwoody and all this type of stuff. It starts in like Atlanta, runs through Dunwoody and all that, right? When you go through Buford Highway is run by Mexicans and Koreans. The whole strip. There might be, a few, other than ethnic groups, but for the most part, Mexicans and Koreans. When you travel up the strip, and it's a long strip, all the signs are in their languages. What does that mean? That means they don't need your money. That means they're circulating the dollar so many times amongst themselves, they don't need your money. You know what they call that? Recession proof. Right? We like to look at things that happen on the news, oh, this, the economy. There's certain groups in America, they don't care nothing about that, they good. Right? They'll raise the bus system here in Atlanta is called MARTA. Right? And every so often everybody screams because they raise the prices on MARTA and stuff like that. The Mexicans on Buford Highway are not working because they created their own bus line. Brand new buses, and the routes are in Spanish. Demonstrate. They demonstrate the prophet, Noble Ali, whether they know it or not, because they being themselves and nobody else. We too busy trying to be everybody else. If we was just what was brought to us, we had something for the nations. But no, we want to be everything else. We want to complain. We want to be victims. Oh, poor us. Don't nobody feel sorry for us. I'm starting to stop feeling sorry for us. I don't believe it. I don't believe that if, like example, all right? I've talked with some Asiatics, right? And they want to question me to death about why I got a fez on, right? Why I got a turban on, or why I got holy garments on, right? But I got to the point where I started asking, look, before we even start this, because I'm not into wasting time. Before we even start this, if I take and answer every question that you have, if I answer every one and point you to all the research where you can find it, will you join us? Will you commit to what we're doing so we can stop playing and get some work done?
That's right.
Well, because see, that's another thing. We got commitment problems. Anybody in a relationship or was in a relationship? Commitment problems. Islam? That's Negro problems. That's really what it is. Islam? Because if you find something that you know is good for you, that you need to be doing, and you can't commit to it, that's sin and disobedience. You should be a slave. That hurt, didn't it? That hurt, didn't it? Somebody got to talk to you like this, right? Because the whole thing, we like people that coddle our emotions, make us feel good, and soothe our ego and tell you how great you are, and how great you were, and so on. But all that goes for naught if you're not doing nothing now. We built the pyramids so you don't control them now. Islam? Well, we invented math. Well, yeah, your child is failing math right now. Islamism deals with action. In fact, you're in the plane of action. We call this the realm of Asia. The word Asiya means the plane of action. This is where you get stuff done at. This is where you prove that you're of a divine source, right? And you're here to have foes and enemies. When our brother Beverly Hill was traveling down today, I'm glad you made it in one piece, bro. Praise Allah. Praise Allah. And no doubt, because it's crazy out there, Mo. But I told them, I said, Mo, be safe in your travels. And the Mo said, if there's a foe out there for me to meet, I'll welcome it. I'm paraphrasing. Right? Why? Because without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength. Right? You ever studied blacksmiths and how they make blades? You ever studied that? When you see the blacksmith here, they're taking, pour the hot stuff into a mold, and they pull it out, right? They put it on the anvil, they take the hammer, what do you do? Beat on it, right? Beat on it, right? Take it, put it in the water, cool it off, put it back on the anvil, beat on it some more. What is that process called? Anybody know? There's another name for it, but they're professional term.
Blacksmithing.
Tempering the blade. Tempering the blade. You know when something bad happens to you, something unfortunate, and you get that emotions going and all that kind of stuff? What they call that? Your temper or your temperament, right? So what's happening is that experience is tempering your blade, right? And with enough beating, what does the beating process do to the blade? It strengthens it. So what does all the emotions and the temperament do to you? It strengthens you. Why you can't be destroyed? What they gonna do to us? You know who the worst oppressor is to us? His name is self. It's us, it ain't nobody else. You think the Europeans overthrew the Moors? Y'all really think that? I know I taught that from a certain aspect earlier, but they didn't defeat us, we defeated ourselves. They weren't strong enough to beat us. You're gonna tell me a dude wearing animal skins, eating raw flesh, and thought the earth was flat, defeated cats that knew and named all the stars, knew every square inch of the planet Earth, right? You see where I'm going with this? And established nations around the planet. You're gonna tell me that some barbarians from caves overthrew them. How did that happen? No, you overthrew yourself. I think at a certain point you just got tired of ruling. Like example, like right now, that sounds crazy, right? Like, do some of y'all think that President Trump is just trying to get impeached?
I do.
Doesn't seem like he's just actually trying to. What that happens when the weight of ruling, there's a weight that comes along with ruling. It's a yoke, Like anybody ever been in, a management position or administrative, right? People come to you with their problems all day, every day. I get texts 3, 4, 5 in the morning. That's my fiance back there, it's Taifa. It's true. See the head nod in the back, you know what I'm saying? That she's worn out, right? And she's just like, why? I'm like, it comes with the office. It comes with it.
Right.
Because when people trust you, trust your consistency, they're gonna come directly to you with everything until they learn how to be strong. And a real leader will work with the people and teach them how to develop those things in themselves to become leaders.
Right.
Islam?
Islam.
All right? But I ask a question often, and I'm gonna ask it tonight, are you ready to rule again? And ask yourself that, are you ready to be in power again? Right? Where does it start? You take your rightful place in your organization, the Moorish Temple of America. Proclaim your nationality, right? Proclaim that you're not Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian, but that these were names given to slaves by slaveholders from 1779 and lasted to 1865 during the time of slavery, right? But this is a new era of time now. Men must be recognized, right, by the governments of the earth and the nation in which they live, by their free national name. And if you're not proclaiming that, you're going to be classed as undesirable and continue to be mistreated and abused. It's going to continue until you change and be yourself and no one else. Simple and plain. There's no other remedy. And if there was another remedy, why hasn't it been applied? Because if that was the remedy, why are people still getting beat? But the one thing that we haven't tried is the answer that will free us. Islam? They say that Asiatics didn't have the right to vote until the Voting Rights Act passed in 1965, right? That's what they say. But Moorish American Muslims were voting in 1928. How'd that happen? Noble Drew had 5,000 Moors on the south side of Chicago, 3,000 Moors on the west side of Chicago. They all came together and backed a gentleman named Oscar DePriest, got him in office, Asiatic, Moorish American, right? But how was that possible if they was having race riots and all that type of stuff, lynching people, but they weren't lynching Moorish Americans? Why not? Through the history, we have the records. If you want to know, we can unfold that whole history for you. We're not just up here talking.
That's right.
We can prove that to you.
That's right.
Right? But once we prove it to you, what are you going to do? That's where I'm at now. We're going to raise the stakes on this thing. Right? If we answer all of that, what are you going to do? You going to remain a Negro? Why? Because it's uncomfortable. Because now you got to explain to your family, I don't want to be called that no more. When the barbecues come, you got to say, no, I don't eat them. I don't want the ribs no more. Somebody asks you, I want to go to the club, but I don't do that no more. Islam, they roll that blunt up, they pass it around, they get to you, I'm good, I'll pass. You're not judging them, but I'm good, I don't demonstrate those degrees no more. Right? Why? Because we're afraid to not fit in. That means you're still a child. Children worry about peer pressure. Adults don't care. Adults make adult decisions. Islam, we here in the Moorish Temple of America are here to assist you in breaking a lifetime full of bad habits. Things that you were taught to enslave you. We're here to help you break those. Islam, and we're daily trying to break them in each other. Right? Because every so often it'll flare up, but the blessing is that we got degrees to go to now. We got something to defer to. When two brothers or two sisters fall out, we got something greater than ourselves we can defer to. We say, oh yeah, well let's see what the record says. Let's go to, because both of us could be wrong. You could be right, I could be wrong, or both of us could be wrong. We both got to step up. Right? Conflict resolution. Back to that again. So all of this circles around proclaiming your nationality, right? And living and demonstrating your divine creed. Okay? If you don't have those things, the slavery condition will continue. Islam, I'd like to share one more thing with you. And if it pleases the Moors, I'll lower the meeting because we seek not the burden. Islam, it's a short article, all right? It's one of the articles that was revealed in the Moorish Guide newspaper on February 19th, 1929. Some history for you. Islam? We'll take a walk down memory lane. This is an article entitled Political Slavery. It says, anytime a man or woman fails or refuses to cast a sacred ballot at the polls, they separate themselves from all rights of an American citizen. For surely this is the one connecting medium for a citizen to a nation, to his nation. They become no more than belated beasts of burden. There are reasons why certain classes who are more or less independent take no part in politics, since they say they get nothing out of it, and out of such in the way of material gain. This is no less than a political slave, since they refuse to voice their sentiments at the polls. Another form of political slavery, which is probably more prevalent among the less independent classes, is that of being forced into one of the major parties and there bribed, coerced, or otherwise forced to vote the wishes of someone else, regardless of their own minds. Before there can be general relief for the economic good of all forms of political slavery must be abolished, and every citizen must take his part in the affairs of the nation. Islam, right? So, example, as Moorish American Muslims, what party should we vote? What are we, Democrats or the Republicans? What are we?
We won't issue.
Islam, we don't vote party, we vote issue. What does that mean? That means that if there's a Republican that sees the interest of the Moorish Americans, that particular constituency, and he's willing to make a promise that when he gets in there, he's going to do what he has to support our agenda, we back in. Next voting cycle, if he violates that, we find out if a Democrat is willing to do the same, we vote that way. Islam? Now, what's the best way to do it? All right? Because that system's based on trust, right? However, what is a more wise way to do that?
Put one eyes and all.
Islamism. Because if we raise one in here, right, and we around them every Friday, every day. Most Americans shouldn't just be around each other every Friday. Let's get that straight.
Right.
We should hear from each other all week long, right? But we're around each other, we know each other. I know your wife, I know your mother, I know your father, I know your children. I know what principles you're under, right? And we take and we run you, right? Who do you think that particular candidate is going to look out for, right? Not due to favoritism, but because that's where his interest. Like he evolved with high things, He's seeking things that's worthy of his power. You see what I'm saying? So he's going to seek out opportunities to do things according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, right? So instead of, that's our whole thing. We don't like politics. We paranoid of politicians. Okay, raise your own. That's the name of the game. You think it won't be a Mexican president soon? That's going to look out for Mexicans? Islam? That was raised by them. I'm not talking about a President Obama situation, respectfully, right? Because he wasn't raised by us. He was raised by Europeans. Trilateral Commission, you name it. His mentor was a man named Zbigniew Brzezinski, right? He was a former, I think it was like Secretary of State or National Security Advisor, right? So, if you look at the people he was around, you see there was another power behind his presidency, right? I'm talking about one that we raised, right? And I'm not even talking about on a presidential level, because that doesn't really affect you every day. The politics that affect you every day are local, right? Do you know your city council person's name?
Yes.
If something in your district is not going right, can you get that person on the phone? And they look at it and see it's you and want to answer it, right? Because you're doing something that's contributing to government. You're not a burden on society. People ain't get locked up left and right. They're not having to, beat your people upside the head because they don't know how to obey law, right? Because that's the dominant aspect of our people this age. They don't know how to obey law. They don't have tolerance for government or none of that. They got to be taught that. But where they gonna learn it at? The Moorish Science Temple of America. Because nobody else is teaching loyalty to the government, the duties of citizen. You get your nationality card, there's a phrase on it that says, I am a citizen of the USA, no duality proud. Right? So citizenship, which means what? Membership. Right? My arm is a citizen of my body. Right? It can't act on its own. It has to work in conjunction with the body. Right? So, and as a citizen, you're not special as a citizen. Because there's an American citizenry. Right? But there's different societies within that citizenry. So the Jews have a society, the Mexicans got them, the Palestinians got them, There's a Brazilian, and you know them by their communities, right? In Atlanta, there's a Brazilian community, there's a Vietnamese community, and when you go there, they're watching you the whole time because they're not sure what principles you're under. But what you do is walk through there with your fez on. They know that. Oh, they're bowing and opening doors. Sisters go through with your turban on, they back, same thing. They bear witness. I think some of the sisters have bear witness. The treatment. Remember how you was treated when you didn't have it on, and now you put it on, and then it's like it's a different thing. Because your forefathers, they did some folly, but they did a lot of good. And they went around the earth being themselves, and the people and the masters of earth remember us as that, because it's in everybody's records. So when you pop up in America with that on, they assume that you know something. So now they're gonna watch you and they're gonna come up to you to ask you some questions. Like, what's your name? You know that's a master's question, you know that, right? My name is Stephen Johnson. Oh man.
Okay, you still want
Oh, okay, all right. Seriously. Okay, I'm gonna show you how crazy it sounds. Y'all really believe me. If you were in the motor vehicle department, right? You're sitting there, you waiting. And they said, David Smith, a Chinese man, got up and went to the counter. Wouldn't you laugh? Why would you laugh? It don't fit, right? It don't fit. Why? David Smith. That ain't his name. You automatically reject it. That ain't his name. But you'll allow yourself to be called John Williams. As though you from England. And I'm not talking about like, you know, because I'm clear that the indigenous inhabitants of England was us. I know that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the name Williams coming from a group of Europeans that demonstrate that name. So you going under that is the same craziness as the Chinese David Smith. Islam? Something to consider. And with that, I'll lower the meeting. Praise Allah. Y'all all right? Praise Allah. All right. Islam Moors. Moorish Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali founder, Chicago, Illinois, March 11th, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophets, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam? Islam. Islam? Islam. 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 All praises are truly due to Allah. The highest violence to his holy and divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, with an extended honor to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garden. Islam Moors? Islam. Thank you all for sacrificing time for a Friday night. Asiatic around Friday nights, party time. You know, like the Sheiks like to say it, you know, they used to make a song back in the day, it's Friday night, I just got paid. Islam. But you think, praise Allah, you sacrifice a Friday to come and reason together. Islam. See, each one of you here has a portion of understanding that we really like to hear you get up and demonstrate, right? We got to get out of that thing, you know, when we're in a gathering and we let whoever's up front just get up and do all the talking. And we just nod our head or have a little attitude, whatever. If you don't agree, stand up and respectfully disagree. Be a man, be a woman. Islam, that's the way governments are run. And until we learn that, see, every time we meet like this, we're practicing government. Right? And this is getting us prepared. Because if you ever get to a point where, you know, you practice in your temple degrees, and you got to go, let's say, to a city council meeting, and you got to speak to the council, you get up, I ride. I mean, you go straight into it, and it's seamless, right? Because you do it every day. Just like if you practice martial arts or boxing, they say you fight how you train, right? So you get out in that world, in other words, a lot of us, we meet here, we phenomenal Moorish Americans here, but we go out here, take the feathers off, take the turbans off, we go back to being Negroes. You gotta stop that. You gotta be known as being who you are, says be either hot or cold, don't be lukewarm, right? You gotta be yourself and nobody else, and people gotta know you for that. That's the only way this movement is gonna grow. Right. For people to put trust and faith and confidence in this movement, they gotta see us being us 24/7 and being exemplary with our principles to the utmost of our power. Islam? Anybody gonna bring their babies around something that don't have a future? Islam? Or if they see we're playing with it, we got feathers and turbans on, but we're playing with our movement, right? We're fighting amongst each other over the internet in our movement with L's and B's on the ends of our name. All that has to stop. Make a vow to yourself that you'll be responsible if you're dealing with social media, that someone comes at you sideways, you'll yield and you won't deal with it openly, right? And you'll make time to see that person in the face, because I guarantee you, when you're looking at them, they're different. A lot of cyber thugs out there, cyber gangsters. Keyboard thugs. There's a lot of them. I press the hands, a lot of them. They're different. They don't talk like that. Islam, right? And the key is, it's not because you tough and you gonna go around and check nobody. It ain't because of none of that, right? But it's because you coming in the name of Allah and His Prophet. And when you come in that name, there's an energy that surrounds that. And when you demonstrate that, people don't want to mess with that. Islam, see, like I've grown to the point where I understand the maxim where it says pray for your enemies. I understand that now, right? I didn't understand that before. I was like, I ain't praying for no enemy, right? But I understand it because, again, I understand the wrath that comes against those who come against Allah's anointed and His prophets. I know what happens to them, and I don't want that for nobody. Islam Moors, that's a part of removing the hate from yourself. You gotta get that up. For us to grow, for you to become back in your godly capacity, you gotta give that up. Islam, and you'll be surprised once you give that up, the allies that you'll have. You'll have allies that you didn't even think would want to support you, right? The Prophet said, European is helping me, why aren't you? It's your problem. Islam? So more, you gotta wake up and realize the days and times we're in, and giving all respect, doing honors to those that's in Texas right now. Demonstrate that couldn't have been us. That could have been any one of us. Fighting for our lives, swimming, waiting for someone to decide to come and help us. Islam? You think people is really down there checking for Asiatic like that? Ain't checking for no Asiatic. Know that, And granted, over 100,000 houses have been lost. Yeah, it's only like 40-something people, but still, if one life was lost, that's too many, right? But the point is, it could be anybody. And then the question to ask: we're Moorish Americans. What are we doing for that? Uplift all of humanity, right? Teach those things necessary to make better citizens, right? What are we doing for Texas? I'm talking about as a temple. I'm talking about here. That's something I thought that we need to adopt, right? Because I know it's some Moors down there right now. I know the temple number and everything, his name and everything, his family, all that. They're in a hotel right now, right? Anybody ever stayed in a hotel before? Those bills are high. Where that money gonna come from? You can't work because your job is underwater. Where you gonna get the money from? You gotta depend on philanthropy of people, right? But the Prophet tells us is that mercy is left up to those who have no mercy in them. So where are they gonna get their salvation from? Right? That burden's on us. Islam? That's what this is. This ain't something you use to bang on your brother or sister or get on your high camel and look down your nose at them. That's not what this is. This is about humanity. But charity begins at home first. We gotta look out for our own first. Then once we're strong, then we can help others. We can't be given to other nations and then we're impoverished. So let's square that. Islam? But that's what Noble Drew brought us. And he brought us serious leaders. And it ain't about no titles. It ain't about what they call in the ancient scriptures, scepters and thrones. It ain't about none of that. It ain't about, I don't care how deep you think your degrees are. It ain't none of that. It's in the action, it's in the implementation, and it's in your character. These tools remind me of the ones we use in the workshop of the mind, where we build up character. Islam, so morality and character is important, right? And if you're not there, work to get there. I wasn't always there. I'm still working on a lot of degrees, but I'm a lot further now than I was 2-3 years ago. A whole lot further. Praise Allah. Islam, because this movement is really about you mastering yourself, because it's not until you master yourself and and all the quirks that are inside you that you could be a benefit to anybody. Your children, your family. What you gonna teach your children? You got babies? What you gonna teach them? What you gonna teach them? Right? You gonna pass down a slave legacy? You gonna teach them to eat bad like you ate bad? You know? Or, my child has high blood pressure because it runs in the family. No, it don't. You taught him how to eat because your mama taught you how to eat like that. And her mama taught her how to, no disrespect to sisters, because I seen plenty of fathers take the salt shaker and do this. Right? It's a learned behavior. Right? But it's not honoring the creed of your forefathers. Islam? But do it in stages. Don't take it all in at once. Do it. It's a little book, but take one verse and master it. Take one verse and say, you know what, I'm gonna dedicate this month to mastering this verse. You know? Once you got that down, take on another verse. That's what makes this a lifetime study. Islam, don't breeze through it all. This ain't nothing. Move on to something else. You missed the whole thing. You missed the whole picture of what it was about. All right?